Hello, Kathryn here. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to this video. If you hear a bit of traffic outside, it is because it's a warm, beautiful day and I have the window cracked open slightly, so you might hear a bit of traffic. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is this theory of comprehensible input. I've been watching some videos on this, and of course I've had some discussions, not in real depth. Remember, I'm still really new to YouTube, about comprehensible input, and this being kind of a breakthrough of concept or theory of how languages are learned and what is required. Now, I've been thinking about this a bit, and I do kind of ascribe to this theory. Actually, I do. And I will show you how I've done this. Now, there's a very important thing that you need to know about how I work. I work primarily in isolation. I have been studying languages alone for several years now, just as I have done a doctoral dissertation primarily alone. Of course, my language learning only has, well, me. I am the supervisor. This is in part a challenge to myself to see how my methods improve over time. So I started with one language and in short order added a second. After about another 6 months or so, I added a third, and I learned how to rotate them. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would you study more than one language at a time? Well, the reason is because I learned how to not only learn faster, more in depth, but also how to separate the languages and find overlap. So let me show you what I do. First of all, I have the news in English. I have a decent idea of what's going on in English. The great thing about international news is it's going to be written in different languages. So you're going to be able to get that crossover effect or spillover effect as well. So when I started with German, I actually started with a tabloid because German is pretty hard. And this being the first language in many, many years that I was going to dive into and actually learn all the grammar and then kind of go off on my own, I had to start with something simple like a tabloid. And I actually do recommend tabloids for beginners to language learning. And if you just find that a bit easier on you to just start with tabloids and not something more sophisticated or just in terms of the grammar and sentence structure. Der Spiegel is a bit more sophisticated than Das Bild because Das Bild is a tabloid. So I could probably find coverage of the same stories over here as I do over here. I may have to go to a section on the United States, but let's see. So Ausland. So this is foreign news. Okay, now that I've gone through the autoplays and figuring out what's playing, so here's the basic news story in English. So this is my native language. Okay, read the news. What's going on? Okay, we're going to terminate the relationship with the with who. Now we have a direct quote. A blistering attack on China. So it is likely that the same points will be made over here. Well, this is more about the Twitter. I find that kind of funny that the Twitter story would be the lead one. So let's go to the Twitter story then. Okay, so this is the Twitter story in English. Now I go over here. Now remember that during this time, I've also learned grammar. So I should be able to tell what are infinitives, what is the present tense, what is the past tense, and what is the future tense, because they're going to be discussing this. I need to know the basic syntax and sentence structure, where verbs are placed in typical German sentences. Now, these are going to be quality sentences, unless they're just opinion pieces, because this is formal writing. It's under some kind of editorial quality control. So after reading through here, I go back here. And I'm not going to understand all of it, right? Especially when I'm in the active studying stages of learning a language. I'm not going to know all this. But what I do is I write it down, write the story down, find one of decent length and write it down. Over time, you will notice the same words over and over again. Canceled, threatened, attacked, crashed. You're going to see that kind of language. It's going to be imprinted in your mind over and over because you keep encountering the same words. Okay, what about Portuguese? So I think this is Mundo. So let's go to Mundo. So again, I'm going to go to international news. If I can find the same story, so that's the one with the World Health Organization, so I can compare that one with the CNN story on the World Health Organization. I mean, it doesn't have to be a complete crossover, but over time, you have to do this over time, you will have the crossovers and the same language. Also, the more you do this, and as you're rotating between the two languages, if that's something you want to do, at first your brain is going to feel very overwhelmed and chaotic, but if you stick with it, it will learn how to quiet that down. Comprehensible input makes sense over time, but you need to put something that makes sense from the beginning, even if you don't understand it at that time. Your brain will notice the patterns, but you have to put in a lot of input, and you have to do it frequently, and you have to do it long enough. This is the key. This is the key to you remembering how things are spelled, how things are structured, how they sound, and if you listen to it, you will start to pick up those words. But it's important that you actually have an intensive front loading of the active study sessions from the beginning. Or otherwise, you're just not going to feel like you're making progress, or you're overwhelmed, or, you know, any kind of demotivating manifestations that might cause you to quit, which is not what you want. If you're going to bother with this, you want to find a way that you can learn sustainably and reasonably. Now that is just a quick example of how I use news stories as sources of comprehensible input. Another thing I've done from the very beginning is watch documentaries. Documentaries are often translated in different languages. They are usually high quality in terms of being able to understand the voice. The grammar is clear, and you have lots of visual aids, so you know what's going on. If you put on the captions, of course, that is just an additional aid for you to learn. I don't think it's a bad thing to watch with the captions. I think that's a completely natural and useful thing to do. Over time, of course, you can start to turn those off as your listening comprehension improves. This is something that's going to take a while to get. And this is also why I am turning into a crusader against the 1 week, 1 month, 20 days, all of that. It just doesn't happen like that. That is not a reasonable expectation for your brain. And you want to create enough space and cushioning for your brain to actually deal with this and then kind of process the input. It will do a lot of this subconsciously. It's designed to do this. And then these insights and eureka moments will bubble up. And this has been my experience for several years now. Alright, I hope you found this useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I have several videos breaking down some of those, learn a language quick challenges or claims. So have a look at that, and I will see you later.